Where is the 9-year-old?
So where in there does it say that you cannot marry someone that's underage?
Yeah, Allah says in the Quran that you could marry the woman when she has reached maturity and she has become pubescent.
Yeah, which means when she hits her period, correct?
When she becomes pubescent.
No, the Bible states that when she comes to maturity.
Yeah, so that's what the Quran says.
The Orthodox Muslim is another online propagandist who can only defend Islam by lying about it whilst attacking the beliefs of others. In that video, he claimed Islam doesn't allow child marriages and that puberty is required for marriage. He did not provide any evidence for his claim, but I know the verse he's referring to because it's a popular one apologists use to cover up the frightening truth about Islam and child marriages. And for some reason, people debating Muslims struggle with it, even though it's quite easy to debunk. I did politely offer this Orthodox Muslim a debate on his claims, and he replied by blocking me. So we have yet another Muslim who makes claims, then runs from backing them up. Anyway, let's debunk the Orthodox Muslim. So the Orthodox Muslim claims Islam does not allow marriage to children and only permits marriage to women who have started puberty and are mature. He says this because of Quran 4:6. Quran 4:6 says, test orphans until they reach the age of marriage, and age of marriage is understood as referring to the age of puberty. So apologists claim that because Quran 4:6 refers to puberty as being the age of marriage, proves that in Islam puberty is required for marriage. Well, we know Quran 4:6 cannot refer to puberty as being the age of marriage because there is no law in Islam stipulating an age of marriage or that puberty is a requirement for marriage. So to prove his claim, the Orthodox Muslim needs to explain why Islamic law specifically says that puberty is not required for marriage and that marrying prepubescent girls is permissible. All 4 schools of Islamic law say this. So this Orthodox Muslim has already been debunked. But let's keep going. This Maliki book of law literally points out that puberty is not required for marriage. This Hanafi book of law says it's permissible to marry minors. This Hanbali book of law says the same thing. And this Shafi law book says it's permissible to force the virgin daughter into marriage, but if she reaches puberty, it's recommended to get her permission. How nice of them. The reason the 4 Islamic schools of law say it's permissible to marry off little prepubescent girls is because there's a virtual consensus of the scholars from those 4 schools of Islamic law who say it's okay to marry a child before puberty. In fact, only 2 classical scholars disagreed, and their opinion was destroyed by their peers who said this view was an anomaly and no one should listen to it. In Sahih Bukhari, Volume 7, Chapter 39, that's a typo, Bukhari specifically uses Quran 654 and Muhammad's marriage to Aisha as direct evidence to prove that in Islam it is halal to marry minor children. In his video, Orthodox Muslim claimed there is no verse in the Quran that permits child marriages, but Bukhari used Quran 654 as evidence that it does. The line "and those who have not menstruated" is unanimously understood to refer to divorcing a prepubescent child. If Allah teaches you how to divorce a child, it means you can marry one. And Bukhari quoted Muhammad's marriage to Aisha as evidence you can marry a kid because Aisha was a kid. In this book of law, Islamic book of law, Quran 654 and Muhammad's marriage to a child are used to show marriage before puberty is lawful. And this scholarly consensus quotes Quran 654 and Muhammad's example to refute the claim puberty is required for marriage, because it's not. Scholars like Ibn Qudamah quoted the Quran 654 and Muhammad's marriage to a minor to show that it's permissible for fathers to marry off their prepubescent daughters. Modern fatwa sites say the same thing. This Hanafi legal manual quotes Quran 654 to show you how to divorce a minor. Imam Nawawi quoted Muhammad's example and said, this is explicit evidence that it's permissible to marry off prepubescent girls. Al-Shafi says, if anyone asks why fathers marry off their minor daughters, you should quote the example of Muhammad's marriage and consummation to Aisha, because both events happened when she was a minor who had no command over herself. In Sunan Ibn Majah, the footnotes of the hadith for Muhammad's marriage to a child says this shows marrying prepubescent girls is valid in Islam. If Quran 4:6 did refer to puberty as being the age of marriage, then this doesn't just contradict Quran 654 and prove Muhammad broke Islamic law, it would create more contradictions because Quran 4:6 refers to an orphan's readiness to receive their inheritance. And in Islam, you can only be an orphan if you're prepubescent. and Quran 4127 and Quran 4:3 refer to marrying orphans. Therefore, because 4:6 refers to orphans in the context of them reaching a marriageable age, means 4:6 can't be saying puberty is required to marry them. Otherwise, Quran 4:6 will contradict Quran 4127 and Quran 4:3, because those verses refer to marrying orphans who are by definition prepubescent. Here's some more scholars who refute the claim Quran 4:6 refers to puberty as being required for marriage. So IslamQA.org went out of their way to refute the claim Quran 4:6 states puberty is the age of marriage because it was not what the verse says and it would contradict Allah and Muhammad. They say the verse refers to maturity for property rights and nothing in the verse can be used to prohibit marrying prepubescent girls. IslamQA.info did the same thing. They refute this claim because if Quran 4:6 established puberty as being the age of marriage, this would create serious contradictions. So Islamic law permits marrying children. The scholars never interpreted Quran 4:6 as referring to the requirement of puberty for marriage, which is why no jurist created laws stipulating puberty as a requirement for marriage. If Quran 4:6 did refer to puberty, they would create numerous contradictions that would debunk Islam. So go ahead if you want, Muslims. So apologists do not make this argument based on what the law says. They make it based on what they pull out of there. But Quran 4:6 does say an age of marriage, which means puberty. So how do we explain this? Well, despite the evidence, sadly, many disingenuous Muslims will still insist Quran 4:6 does refer to an age of marriage as being puberty. They will do this to ensure they do not lose the debate. Well, all this shows is that Allah is a poor communicator and misuses euphemisms, which is not our problem. But let me try to explain to you what's going on. So this scholar explains Quran 4:6 refers to age of marriage as puberty because it is a puberty that a major purpose of marriage can be fulfilled, which is procreation. So it is having children in marriage which links the age of puberty to the age of marriage. This is a very important point to appreciate because in Islam, the word for marriage is nikah, and nikah also means to have sex. And children can only be created by having sex, which in Islam is only lawful in a marriage. Therefore, marriage, nikah, overlaps with intercourse, nikah, which are both bound by the ability to reproduce at puberty to achieve a key purpose of marriage. This does not set puberty as a requirement for marriage. It just shows the age of marriage is being used as a euphemism for puberty, descriptively, not prescriptively. And we know this because we've already seen the law which says you can marry a child and sadly you can also have intercourse with a child. So in summary, the use of age of marriage to mean puberty in Quran 4:6 just expresses the age at which marriages were typically conducted because this is when marriage becomes relevant in terms of having children. In this context, marriage to mean sex is relevant because sex is required for children and is only lawful in marriage, Islamic marriages. The scholars interpreted marriage as being just a euphemism for puberty, while strictly understanding Quran 4:6 as referring to the time of maturity for financial independence of an orphan. They knew Quran 4:6 could not be used to establish puberty as being an age of marriage, because this would contradict numerous verses in the Quran and hadiths which show marrying minors and having intercourse with them is permissible. This was debunking Islam. An Orthodox Muslim was just